My name is Muhammad Rohan Ali Asmat and I am representing User Interface as Service, which is Work Package 5 under the bIoTope ecosystem. So let's discuss the scenario. The scenario that we have is that we have various Internet of Things data sources in the bIoTope ecosystem with unique end consumers. These data sources differ with respect to different bIoTope use cases, and we have them as a queryable data based on OMI messaging standards. So this is the scenario. But what's the problem at hand? The problem at hand is that the developers should be easily creating dashboards or interactive user interfaces in order for the end users to consume. And the developing and designing of interaction patterns and user interface widgets should be such that they are reusable across multiple bIoTope use cases, and they should be context sensitive end user experiences. So what is the solution that User Interface as a Service proposes? User Interface as a Service proposes that there should be easy to use developer environment, IoT specific user interface widgets, IoT specific compositional widgets, and context sensitive end user dashboards. So this was problem, scenario, and the solution. Now let me lay or delve into a bit more details of User Interface as a Service and get you introduced to what is User Interface as a Service. So from among the features of User Interface as a Service, there's a feature that the developer can choose from a library of data visualization widgets suitable for his or her device data. So for example, in the presentation we show in a graph widget using node template widget in order to display temperature against time. This is an example from Leon heatwave mitigation use case. Another feature of User Interface as a Service is that user-friendly developer environment for the developers. So you can see that a user can select, as in the image, user can select from multiple range of nodes which represent a unique functionality, and which developer can choose. It's a list that is suited for bIoTope developers need. So user can select these nodes, can drag them onto the palette or canvas, and user can connect them and form a logic, a programming logic. Another feature of User Interface as a Service is that developer can develop context sensitive and user friendly end user dashboards. So you can see we have another example, and that's from safety around schools use case from bIoTope ecosystem, and we see that there's on the map coordinates are being presented, and it's context sensitive in a way that the widgets display information according to the user information. Another feature of User Interface as a Service is that it tries to integrate with existing data sources and from multiple data sources. So for example, you can see in the flow as is shown in the image that there is a data source from OMI node, and there is a data source from Sparkle DBPBDA endpoint, and the developer has connected them in the end to the end user widgets to display data from among different data sources onto a single dashboard. So this was about the features of User Interface as a Service. Now let me delve into the details of what is User Interface as a Service bundle. The diagrams in the slides show the core components of User Interface as a Service, and as you can see, I will dive into each of these components step by step. So there is a Node-RED instance that is the main development environment in the user interface as a service scope. So, and there are two instances of it. One that is consumed by the end user, that is particularly dashboards, and the other one that is developer instance, where developer can use the development environment in order to form programming logic for the dashboard users or the end users to consume. And for these dashboard interfaces, there is dashboard front-end server, as I already explained, and flow editor. So the dashboard front-end server is mainly the one that is providing source links to the different dashboards, and the flow editor where the developer can form programming logic for the dashboards. So for the flow editor, that is using compositional widgets and end user widgets. That is from among the 2D and 3D widgets library that user interface as a service comes up with, and it has widgets from among the current implementations of Node-RED, from among the other developers implementation of the Node-RED widgets, and from among their internal development of Node-RED widgets. And from them, the key contributions are all my Node ODF Node widgets for Node-RED, which we use in the scope of bIoTope ecosystem in order to display a dashboard to the end users, and the MongoDB, a MongoDB wrapper that we use from among the Node-RED function node in order to form different programming logic for persistent data. So this was from among the core components of user interface as a service. Next, as I already told in the previous slide, and I would lay a bit more light onto the details of it, that the bIoTope user interface as services focuses on providing Node-RED nodes or widgets that are handy for the developer of bIoTope, and that can be used by the bIoTope developer easily and rapidly to form dashboards and user dashboards. So user interface as a service developers come up with a bundle of all the Node-RED widgets that they think is handy for the IoT developer, and in particular in the scope of bIoTope ecosystem, to develop these kind of dashboards. So we include in our package Node-RED dashboard nodes that has all sorts of templates for creating user interface patterns for dashboards, for example chart, gauge, text, template, notifications, output, text input, date, numeric, slider, switch, dropdown from among the user interface patterns. This is a separate implementation of these widgets that can be included in the package of Node-RED. Then user interface as a service also includes table node that can be used as a template node from a Node-RED dashboard node and a template node from a Node-RED node. Then, as I mentioned earlier, from the key contributions of bIoTope user interface as a service and the internals is that they have their personal implementation of Node-RED OMI and ODF node. It was developed by a partner and user interface as a service, so we see OMI ODF nodes. Then we also include world map nodes that helps to create easily map-based interactions and map-based user interface patterns. So next, open weather nodes are included, and then Python 3 function, Sparkle, and MongoDB. So these were from the Node-RED extra components that come in with user interface as a service in order for the user interface as a service developer to form and create the programming logic for the dashboards easily and rapidly without taking care of adding these first and then going into the development phase. So for the GitHub source code, it is presented in the slides as shown, and user interface as a service and knowledge as a service, that's the node that user interface as a service is closely coupled with knowledge as a service. That is another work package of bIoTope, and the work, because of the work that was closely related, that is packaged into single source code, but the documentation is available for both of them. Moreover, you have link to the GitHub community of bIoTope and the project also available at the bIoTope community at GitHub. So in order for having to know a bit more training material of bIoTope knowledge as a service component, you can refer to the link as shown in the slides below. So now I will get into the details of how to get up and running with NAS and UIaaS. So NAS is basically knowledge as a service, KNAAS, and user interface as a service, UIaaS. So I would go step by step into how to get started with the source code. So what a developer can do, or what a particular person who is interested to have hands-on experience with NAS and UIaaS, he or she can do is, like, they can clone the repository as shown in the link, as shown in the command git clone, and then get into the root directory, and then simply run the docker compose up command, and that's it. You just, and the prereqs are that the developer or the particular person who is interested to get up and running, he should have docker and docker compose up, docker compose, and that's it. And he can simply run the docker compose, and he would be started with the application straight away. So the services that are part of UIaaS, user interface as a service, would be exposed to these links as shown in the slide: MongoDB at localhost 27017, Node-RED at 1880, Node-RED dashboard at 1880/UI, and ORM node at localhost 8080. So this was how to get up and running with NAS and UIaaS. But what if you want to customize this package and repository based on your needs? Or what if you want to get a bit into more details of it? You need to have a bit of understanding of the basic modules of NAS and UIaaS. So I would get into details of each one of them, which are part of user interface as a service. And in order to have a look on knowledge as a service, you can refer to the link that I mentioned already, or you can also have a look to the repository link. So for the user interface as a service modules, the first one that I would particularly pay focus on, or the intention, is Node-RED, and that's the highlight actually, because that's the module which is being consumed indirectly or directly by the end user, and which is also being used by the developer of the bIoTope in order to create different kind of dashboards. So let's see how it is included in the source code. So on the left side in the slides, we see that we have a Node-RED folder which has Docker file and a package.json containing the metadata, and Docker file containing all the commands that are necessary for getting a build of an image that is ready to get started for a bIoTope user. So developers can modify this Docker file and customize this. Developers can use this Docker file in order to include more Node-RED nodes and widgets, and developer can use this Docker file to add extra configurations for Node-RED. This was more about Node-RED, and that's simple actually. So the next is Node-RED dashboard, and that is the module that is included as an integral part of Node-RED in form of different set of widgets that can be easily installed in Node-RED instance. So bIoTope developer take this responsibility and provide the end users, or provide even the user interface as service developers to have these already installed in their development environment. So the different kind of dashboard modes are like button, drop down switch, slider, color picker, date picker, text input, numeric, form, and text, gauge, chart, template, UI control, notification, and audio out. So in order to do a custom implementation of such a widget, it isn't possible at the moment. What you can do is either go to Node-RED dashboard GitHub repository and provide them an additional widget in terms of development, or what you can do is use this template node, and you can form your own logic of a presentational widget that you can use to distribute, or you can use as a flow to be distributed and among different developers, and you can reuse them as much as you want. So this template node is easy to use. You can write your own HTML5, CSS3, you can include scripting, JavaScripting, plus you can write Angular based front-end code. So you can have your own logic, and we do use it in order to provide chart presentation among the dashboards for Leon heat wave mitigation use case. So next is the MongoDB module, and the MongoDB module is having a similar core structure as Node-RED. It has a MongoDB root folder in the source code. It has a Docker file that the developers can use to customize the MongoDB installation and configurations based on their needs or based on their custom requirements. And the additional thing that bIoTope provides is a modules folder that has a set of scripts in Python in order to get up and running or connected with MongoDB easily. So it's a set of scripts or helper functions that can be called from among the Node-RED development environment in form of a particular Python functional load, and developers can easily connect to the MongoDB. They can try editing logic easily because of the availability of the helper functions. And in order to get a study of it, users can see the modules folder and see the scripts, and it would be easy to understand. This slide presents you with the initial setup required to get connected with the MongoDB client in terms of the connectivity from Node-RED instance part, Node-RED developer instance part. So the developer should create a database and a record in MongoDB in order to get connected with MongoDB from among the Python function in Node-RED developer environment. And in order to do so, what developer can do is get himself connected on a terminal instance of MongoDB, and for that he or she can simply docker inspect container ID grep -i ipaddr as shown in this command. And once the developer puts this command, developer would have IP address, and developer can use simply mongo -sourced IP address command in order to get himself connected in terminal with an instance of MongoDB, and then developer can use MongoDB commands in order to create a database and a record or collection based on his or her flow logic. So another module that we have in user interface as a service that is also very key module is OMI node. And OMI node, as shown in the source hierarchy, it's again in a similar fashion as MongoDB or Node-RED It has a Docker file that can be used to have customized configurations or additional things that a developer might want to do for an OMI node based on their programming logic or based on their requirements. And in addition to that, you need a basic OMI source in form of this zipped package, and developer can easily go to the releases of OMI node on the source code as given in the slides, and also change it to the latest version using the Docker file and the latest package from the source code. So this was about the user interface as a service modules. Now let me discuss user interface as a service development. That means how a developer can, we already talked about how a developer can get started with the user interface as a service and knowledge as a service repository. But what if developer wants to get a bit more into it and start their own project? So for that, developer can have from among two use cases. Developer might want to load an existing node flow to the development environment from what is provided from among the user interface as a service repository. So for example, he or she might want to use a Lyon heatwave mitigation use case, or he or she might want to use a bottle bank citizen dashboard. It could be the case that they want to use it as it is, or they might also want to use them as a basic starter kit and might want to customize it based on their own needs for their own particular use case. Or a user might want to create a new node flow. So for developer to load this, it's quite simple. In the next slides we'll show you, or from among the by the helper slides, how to get these flows imported into the node development environment. But for the flows location, where you can find these locations, find this location of our source code of flows is in the flows directory of the NAS UIaaS, and you can see there are multiple folders, and for what is the interest to the user interface as a service developer is flows 4 to 8, and the user interface as a service developer can see the Lyon heatwave use case flow, or bottle bank citizen dashboard, and whatever was the part of user interface as a service. And the other flows are the part of knowledge as a service, and the developer can also use those. So how to upload a flow? In order to upload a flow, what a user interface as a service developer can do is, like, once he is on the developer instance of Node-RED, he can click on this hamburger menu icon, and then he would see a drop down menu from which there is an import option, and by clicking on that he would see a sub menu from which he can select and import a flow option, and he would be provided with this kind of input field which says paste nodes here. And what a developer can do is, like, from among the source of flows, as told from the previous slide, user can select one, copy all the flow code and paste it here in this field, and user can select it as to be a part of the current flow that he's working on, or as a new flow, so as he or she wishes. And once pasted, the import button would be enabled, and user can select import, and he would be loaded with the flow as shown in the slide. Then user can use the deploy button to deploy it, and can use this flow, and can also choose from among other use other widgets to connect them and to customize them. Developer can press the trigger node button here in order to trigger this flow and to get it started, and can change the options from this trigger node for setting it automatically or as required by the developer. So what if a developer wants to create a new flow? So in order to create a new flow, developer can see this plus icon. Developer can click on this plus icon and he would be presented with an empty canvas, as shown here is like flow 3. So he would be presented with an empty canvas, and then he can choose from among the Node-RED widgets in the bIoTope ecosystem and drag them to the canvas, connect them, and form a programming logic. And this palette, developers are free to use the nodes from this palette, or they can also extend it by customizing the Node-RED Docker file as already explained, and they would be provided with extra set of nodes that they wanted to include using the Docker file, and user can use this canvas area to create the end user dashboards. So this was about how to get the development started in the bIoTope ecosystem of user interface as a service. So how the deployment of user interface as a service works, now we will discuss about that. And in order to see this, you can see there's a bit of different code hierarchy for the knowledge as a service, user interface as a service deployment package. And this is basically the part of same repository, but you can get it by clicking on deployment branch of the source code as provided in the GitHub. And what you can see is basically the core structures is the same as the normal NAS UIaaS package. You can see we have modules, we had MongoDB, we had proxy, we had OMA node, sorry, not proxy. So the core is the same, but what we additionally have is Node-RED, and then 4 more instances of Node-RED. So you see we have multiple Node-RED instances, and what we additionally have is proxy. What we have more is we also have more as proxy and flow editing. Yes, so for the Pi side you can ignore, this is part of NAS, and miscellaneous is also part of NAS, knowledge as a service. You can ignore this. But now what is the part of user interface as a service and the deployment package? We could go step by step into the details of it. And to start with, I would tell you why we have, as highlighted, multiple Node-RED instances. So we have multiple Node-RED instances because each Node-RED instance corresponds to a particular use case of bIoTope. So Node-RED BBC is responding to bottle bank citizen use case, and BBWM is responding to bottle bank waste management, whereas co-mobility to co-mobility and heat wave mitigation to Node-RED HW, and mobility, for example, to another use case. So these Node-RED instances are corresponding to bIoTope use cases and bIoTope pilots. So let's discuss the Nginx deployment module. So we have Nginx deployment module, which is under proxy root folder, and the developer can see that, and what developer can see under this is a Docker file and a proxy.conf, and developer can use the Docker file as for all other modules of NAS UIaaS to customize the Nginx, and the developer can use the proxy.conf in order to set Nginx configurations. And how does the Node-RED deployment module looks in the deployment package? So we have multiple Node-RED instances, as I already told in the previous slide, but each of them looks similar in a way that it has a Node-RED root folder, and then under that there is a folder named after a corresponding use case or pilot, which has two more subfolders that are flows and settings. So the flows containing the flows corresponding to that particular use case, and the settings containing the configuration settings, for example password, etc., corresponding to that particular instance of Node-RED in use case. So the developer can use these files to customize and provide their own implementations in order to have these instances started with flows that they want, or with settings or configurations that they want. And additionally, we see Dockerfile and package.json, which is similar as in the normal Node-RED instance case. Additionally, we do have a flow editing module for Ruler that is meant to have set of Python scripts again that are helper Python scripts, and the one implementation is based on one example that we have is a world map URL correction script, and we see a change from localhost to the deployment server. We see a change in the URL of the world map node. So in order to change that, once you are going from the local installation to the development mode, to the local installation to the server deployment, the user can simply use the script in order to change the URLs dynamically wherever he or she wants. So this was all about user interface as a service. Now I would like to lay some light on the future work, and that is to publish the dashboards at an environment node and to have them working, to have them consumed from an environment node by other users. So for the dashboards to be consumed using OMN node, the dashboard should have a particular ODF structure, open data format structure, and we show two such examples in the listings on left side, one for the bottleneck end user dashboard and other one for the Leon heatwave mitigation dashboard, both of them showing in red that where it is available at, that where would be the dashboard once deployed would be available to be consumed by other people, other users from my node. So there would be always a link for this, and then both of them shows the ID in green for bottleneck end user dashboard and for Leon heatwave mitigation dashboard. And additionally, both of them gives in brown the custom configurations for these dashboards that would be required by that particular dashboard in order to set them, make them context sensitive. So for example, in the case of bottleneck ID, which is for example 121, so the dashboards would be set according to this development ID, this bottleneck ID. And for in the case of Leon heatwave mitigation dashboard, the current position in terms of latitude and longitude of Mr. User, and the dashboard would, for example in this case Alice, and the dashboard will be set according to that location. So we show the sequence diagram of the work in progress, and what is meant as a future work is a particular node bIoTope developer as user. He can, or developer or user, he can choose from logging in or signing up, to a central Node-RED unit, that is UI, we call it as a user interface as a service central unit, which provides the functionality of presenting available dashboards, of creating, reading, update and deleting operations on user list of dashboards, and managing dashboard configuration. So what happens is, like, the user can use that central unit instance to log in and sign up, and then the central unit uses OMI communicates with OMI to get the list of all the dashboards and presents it in the form of a list to the user. It presents to the user both the registered and non-registered dashboards for that particular user. So once the user has this information in front of him in terms of user interface on a Node-RED instance, the user can select from creating a dashboard, and if he selects to create a dashboard, user would connect with another Node-RED instance in the user interface as service, that is Redzilla, that is a multiple instance manager of Node-RED that can create Node-RED instance with custom configurations, stop, create, restart an instance and list all the available instances. So user creates the dashboard and provides the parameterization values, dashboard type and credentials, and that server instance of multiple instance manager returns the dashboard URL and the metadata of the dashboard. Once the central unit has that, the central unit registers that information at an OMI node for a future use and presents the dashboard availability to the user. So now, for example, a user wants to see this, so user selects that dashboard because now it's available to him. He is already registered to that particular dashboard, and the dashboard central unit, Node-RED central unit, that is UIaaS central unit, redirects to the dashboard instance using the multiple instance manager and connects him with that, him or her with that particular instance. So that's the work proposed for, that is the work planned for future and somehow partially in progress. So to revise, the planned items for future work are to have multiple user Node-RED developer and end user environment, and to have dashboard publishing and consumption using OMI nodes. So the source code for the work in progress is available under the feature multi-user branch of the source code, and the link is given in the slides below. And you can see other bIoTope artifacts like reports, the other softwares, and the training material in these links provided. For any sort of questions, please feel free to ask, and thank you very much for your attention. Hope these helps you hope these help you to get started and get up and running, and even going beyond that and creating your own interactive dashboards for the end users. Thank you very much for your attention. Have a nice day. Bye.